Everyone, we are keeping up with all things Olympics, and we thank you so much for joining us for this stream as the action continues in Paris. A lot to talk about. We've got Brad here, and we also have a special guest soon to be introduced here to discuss U.S. women's soccer as they prepare to face Japan tomorrow. We have Witte, a former soccer player at Penn State and current analyst. And I feel like I'm between two soccer lovers because the conversation before we started the stream.
I mean,
y'all are pumped.
I am.
Yeah, it's great to have, we were talking before we started, you know, it's great to see the men and the women, but I mean, now the men are kind of out of it.
Yeah.
It was a rough game today. But the women's game, I mean, everybody in the United States, I think, kind of knows the names of the women's team going into the last couple of years, but there's a lot of new faces this year.
Yes.
Which makes it kind of unique. And what has that done for the team? Because it's just a different team.
Yeah, I mean, the World Cup was a huge upset last summer. And since they brought in their new head coach in Emma Hayes, they have completely changed things around and really focused on the next generation of soccer players. They're bringing in the Jenna Neiswanger, keeping a Crystal Dunn and keeping Lindsey Horan as the midfield, but they also have Sam Coffey, who's been excellent, and Mallory Swanson is really hitting her stride with 3 goals so far in this tournament. So I think with Emma Hayes coming in and just bringing in new energy, younger players, and moving on from the older players who kind of hit their stride, and it's kind of cool to hear, you know, Alex Morgan didn't make the Olympic roster, and it was the big talk of not just the soccer world, but the sports world in general, and how this team has kind of gone into the next level of their play, but also showing what Emma Hayes can do, which is hit so many ceilings for sure.
Yeah, and do you think, I think a lot of people, Alex Morgan's not on this team. It seems shocking, but who do you think is the new face of the team going forward, that at this Olympics will be the moment where people will know who this person is?
Right. This Olympics, it's going to be forward Mallory Swanson. She has had 3 goals in their last 3 games. She had an injury setback in 2023, but has really come full force, not just in the Olympics, but in NWSL has been a big thing for her team and the Chicago Red Stars. And she's a goal scorer. She's quick, she's fast, she's really smart on and off the ball. And that's something that this U.S. team really missed when they didn't have her in the World Cup. And it's showing that she's going to be that statement piece. But she's different from Alex Morgan because she's also a facilitator. Alex Morgan was a goal scorer. We always knew her as to be the one to get the job done. But Swanson can do so many things, and that's good for the U.S. because other countries are catching up to what the U.S. can do.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I think, you know, the upset in the World Cup was like an eye-opener, but it's like in the NBA for the men, it's like the rest of the world is getting better at women's soccer. So I think we sometimes are too hard on our own team because we're like, why aren't you guys winning everything by 4 or 5 goals and just dominating, because the rest of the world's getting better. You mentioned the new coach, and I think it's interesting. How would you classify their style in the Olympics compared to previous world events they've been in?
I think this U.S. team is a lot more patient than they've ever been in the past. A team that this Australia side the other day set a low block, and it was really hard for the U.S. to try and figure out how are they going to get through. And past, they would just kind of take shots, get impatient. They would worry and panic that they haven't scored a goal yet. But against Australia, you saw the confidence that Hayes had, and it was implemented in her team, that they just tried a few things and switched the ball, you know, across the field a few times, and eventually they found 2 goals in the back of the net. But I think this young team has confidence, and Emma Hayes is just such a refreshing thing coming into this U.S. soccer program.
What about this matchup here with Japan? Because they've been quite impressive. So how do you feel about these two teams coming together?
Yeah, Japan and the United States, the last time they met in the Olympics, the U.S. actually won the gold against them in 2012. So this is a huge historic matchup. Japan is a team who is very technically sound. They're a team who's really good at keeping the ball. They're going to try and break through by short passes, long passes, and they want to live on the ball a little bit longer. The U.S. has to make sure that they keep the ball, and they're good at keeping the ball in the defensive third of the field, but also in the midfield, because that's how Japan can kind of penetrate them and go over the top quickly with their speed.
Yeah, you said the patience thing, and that's the thing I noticed just as somebody who plays soccer. I noticed they possess the ball a lot more, and there's a lot of passing in the back, and they're not being as aggressive as they, but you said that patience pays off because they kind of pull the defense out and look for that, kind of probe a little bit to see where these holes are. So that was definitely something I noticed from a style, because I feel like they were so skilled in the past that they would just attack teams. Now it's kind of like watching Premier League soccer a little bit because you're getting some of that kind of play out there.
Yeah, it's a lot more tactical. There's a lot more movement on and off the field. I think Mallory Swanson's a good point in the sense that she doesn't just sit on the left side of the field. She can move to the right, or she can be that 9 in the middle of the field who's trying to find opportunities. She doesn't feel married to one side of the field, and I think that was the problem in past years for the U.S. We're just seeing a lot of fluidity, and they're making it work with that.
That's great. What about the men? We talked a little bit about at the beginning, you know. It was great for them to even be in the Olympics to qualify. They had a great run, but today was not so great.
Yeah, a 4-0 loss to Morocco was a tough one. This team is, you have to remember, the U23s. They're not the full typical team. Only 3 players that played in the Olympics were over the age of 23. So it's a lot of players who don't have experience in these big prime time games against teams who have a lot of experience playing in Europe, etc. And I think this shows what the next level of the U.S. men's national team is going to be. This team has a ton of talent. The United States has a lot of talent. And after what happened in Copa America, U.S. getting knocked out very early and way too early, it's going to be exciting to see, A, who U.S. Soccer brings in to be the U.S. men's head coach, but also this new young talent, what they can do to try and revitalize the men's side of the game. Because now we got the women's side.
Yeah.
We need the men to start picking it up a bit.
So you think the U.S. is back then?
I do. I think for the men's side, I think there's a lot of positivity for sure. And for the U.S. women, definitely, Hayes has really brought them back.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing I was going to ask you, you know, having played soccer and you're covering soccer now, this is a soccer city. Charlotte FC has been amazing. Where is the state of soccer?
I feel like this is the epicenter of the soccer city, by the way. No, I'm just like enthralled listening to this conversation.
I love all sports. I played soccer a lot, but I think this is like a big moment in soccer in the United States where like maybe we're taking that step where we're going to be on par with the rest of the world. It's becoming a major sport. And where do you think it sits now?
Right now, soccer is probably 2 behind football. I still think that's something that they're going to want to eventually beat. But we even see a lot of young boys and girls not playing football or flag football anymore. They're really into soccer and what's happening in Europe. And now they're seeing the build of what's happening in the States. Obviously, Messi going to Miami gave a massive boost to soccer in the United States. But we just continue to see it more and more. There's always a league happening. There's always a game happening. You can always have soccer on your TV, and it's a live soccer, and that's also what interests the young people as well. And as much as they learn about the game, the technical and tactical side about it, I mean, I think it'll grow a lot more.
Well, I think it's interesting for me, not having grown up watching soccer or playing soccer, getting into it here in Charlotte, because there's certainly a big buzz around it, and just also kind of being, I guess you would say, a newbie to this, listening to the things that people should be looking out for to appreciate the game further.
It's easy to get people into it if you take them to it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like,
that's the key.
So hopefully the stream will help folks with that.
Yes.
You know, like when they go to watch, like what things they should like look out for to appreciate, like on the skill side.
Yeah, for sure. The Ascend and what Charlotte FC are doing here, there's so much quality soccer in the Carolinas, like good soccer you can go to, and if you're a young kid, you can learn from how they're playing and you can implement it in your own game. That's how I grew as a player. So definitely go out and support the teams here in Charlotte for sure.
Did you have any more questions soccer related? Because we have a couple other topics we wanted to, well, we wanted Anna to stick around because we have a couple other topics we wanted to highlight, and I think you would have some good insight on this.
Great.
So we've got some stories with some local ties. So we first have to say a big congrats to Charlotte's own Kaylin Brown in the mixed 4x400 relay team. Did y'all?
Cool event. That's a cool
Very
event.
cool.
Well, I was telling Brad and my coworker Colin when we were getting ready for the 6 p.m. news today, we had it on in the background for a little bit, and I looked, and the men were running, and then I looked away, and then I looked back, and the women were running, and I was like, oh, it's a mixed relay. How cool is this? Cool. And also how cool, they broke a world record. And I think it was by a second plus or something like that, but it was pretty sweet to see.
That is awesome.
And so they qualified for the final, scheduled for tomorrow. I mean,
very cool. And a Charlotte own, even better.
I know. I love the Charlotte ties.
We should have more like mixed and co-ed.
Yeah.
I think that would be amazing.
Yeah, I think it was so fun to watch.
I don't think I've ever seen that relay before or heard about it in previous Olympics.
That's why it surprised
me. At first, and then I saw this is track and field. It's actually kind of cool.
It is.
We have another Carolina tie to talk about too. There's a Raleigh native getting help from rapper Flava Flav. Have you heard about this? So he's been, I guess, sponsoring, if you will, some of these athletes. He and the co-founder of Reddit, who we also know was Serena Williams' husband.
Right.
So Veronica Fraley here, a discus thrower for Team USA. This week she wrote on X that she was having trouble, paying for her rent while also trying to compete.
Wow.
And so these two big names reached out separately to help cover her costs. I don't know if you have any insights as, someone who has, been an athlete and just how difficult, because we've been seeing some of these stories emerge about what some of these athletes are doing to try to make their dreams come true.
Every 4 years, it's what they work up to for those 4 years, but you still have to pay the bills. So having somebody come in who not just wants to see you do well, but can financially support you, is cheering you on, wants to see your sport grow as well, that gives you so much confidence when you are in Paris and when you are at the Olympics, and that makes you even more excited to compete and bring home a gold. So I think that's really cool that some of these celebrities who have the deep pockets can support these athletes.
Because that's the thing I love about the Olympics. Like, I know a lot of sports, but some sports I don't know anything about.
Right.
You watch and you realize that this person has poured their whole life into this. And when you see the emotion when they win or just finish, you realize like that's their passion. And even though I don't fully understand like fencing or I don't know all the rules for some of the rowing events, you just see that this is something they've worked their whole life for, and you can relate it to yourself, some passion you have that everyone didn't really know about, and you succeed at, and how amazing it is. But most of them, like you said, have full-time jobs.
Right.
It's not like something, they're not professional athletes. It's not like the NFL or NBA. And I think the passion for the sport is what makes the Olympics so great, because NBA, NFL players, if they don't win, they're still $20 million paycheck or whatever. They're doing it for the love of the sport, not because they're getting paid.
Yeah, I've been seeing some interesting profile pieces on the network coverage that NBC has been doing with some of these athletes, and there was one just following this athlete. He's getting up for his day, he's going to work. It shows he's sitting there in front of Zoom like so many of us do for our jobs if we have meetings sometimes, and then he's like, going in the pool, and then it gives you like a little bit of insight into their day and like how much like passion you have to have.
Right.
I mean, it's
so
like
much sacrifice as well, like all their free time.
Imagine someone in the office, you go, "What are you doing?" "Well, I'm on the Olympic team."
I know.
I didn't know you would have like played it. It's like I had a friend growing up. I just found out he was like an Olympic badminton person, and I was like,
wow.
When did you play
That's
badminton?
an amazing sport, by the way, because I watched a little bit of it. I know you said you've kind of been dabbling with some of the other sports too that you've been watching. Have you seen badminton at all?
No, not this year.
It's so intense. It's like
they're wailing on it.
I think we saw Snoop Dogg commenting on it. I saw that.
And that makes it even better, because that's like, my son was amazed because we played badminton a couple times at picnics or whatever, that we watched it and he's like, "Dad, that's not badminton."
Yeah.
I was like, "No, that is badminton.
So
that's
aggressive.
Like Olympic badminton."
That birdie will go right through you if if you're in the way.
Swing.
Hurt too.
Well, this has been a great discussion. We have a 7 p.m. newscast that we're going to get ready for. Anna, we thank you so much for being with us.
Of course. Thank you for having me. This was very fun.
Yeah. Hopefully more chats to come.
Yes.
More soccer talk.
I know. Y'all need to
Like I said, it never ends.
connect on social media and just, I don't know.
Yeah.
We need to have like a little show or something.
Yes, that would be fun.
All right. Thanks, y'all, for joining us. We wanted to get you ready, too, for that primetime lineup that is coming up tonight on WCNC Charlotte Track and Field, which we kind of teased a little bit for you. Team USA's Ryan Krauser begins his journey for Olympic shot put history. And then we go to the pool, men's synchronized diving competition for the gold. Sha'Carri Richardson steps on the track for her first Olympic race. Wow. Followed by swimming in the men's 50-meter freestyle final. Be sure to end the night with us. Our late newscast is at 11. We have a full lineup for the games on our website. You can find the on-air and streaming schedule on our homepage, WCNC.com. Have a great night, folks. We'll see you on the air in about 10 minutes or so.